Today we will take a look at the best travel camera for this year. If you want to find more information, check out links down below. 5. Fujifilm X-S10. The role of deputy to Fujifilm's X-T flagships has been filled by excellent little cameras like the Fujifilm X-T30. The X-S10 isn't a replacement for that model, but instead an attempt to win over new fans who have so far been resistant to Fujifilm's charms. How does the X-S10 perform compared to its rivals? Overall, very well. Stills image quality is identical to the Fujifilm X-T4, a camera that's currently second in our guide to the best cameras for photography. The quality and flexibility of the X-S10's 4K video is also right up there with rivals like the Nikon Z50 and Sony A6600. Perhaps the X-S10's only real weakness is its autofocus. Its AF performance is still impressive in most situations, but the subject tracking isn't quite as advanced as the Sony system seen on cameras like the Sony A6600. The Fujifilm X-S10's design is simultaneously vintage Fujifilm and a big change from its other mirrorless cameras. At first glance, it looks like a slightly smaller Fujifilm X-T4 with a larger, deeper grip. Because of that grip, the size difference isn't, in practical terms, much different from the X-T4. It's very competitive with rivals at this price and size. 4. Olympus PEN E-P7. The PEN E-P7 draws on the spirit and specs of previous Olympus models to create a fresh, travel-friendly mirrorless camera. Its tried and tested triplicate engine won't make headlines, but the combination of attractive retro styling, a streamlined build and effective 5-axis image stabilization make it a compelling choice for beginners and journey makers. The E-P7 blends stunning looks with a tried and tested engine, making it ideal for beginners and travel photography. The lack of a viewfinder may be a deal breaker for some, while vloggers may be underwhelmed by its lack of video-centric specs. In practice, the E-P7 produces very nice images and some good quality video, too. Images are bright and punchy and display the same kind of dynamic range we've seen from previous Olympus offerings. The fact that it's small enough to almost fit in your pocket, or to slip neatly into a bag with an additional lens or two, makes it more appealing than full-frame options for casual or street snapping. The first thing to say about the E-P7 is just how attractive it is. 3. Nikon Z. The Nikon Z is a triumphant design that offers a different shooting experience to the Nikon Z50 at a great price. The vari-angle screen is also an inspired choice that embodies Nikon's old meets new, fusion, concept. More advanced photographers might miss the lack of weatherproofing and a larger full-frame sensor, especially considering current native lens availability. But for everyone else, the ZFC is a great mix of retro design and mirrorless shooting power. The ZFC is a beautiful, casual camera with a capable specification. 20.9 megapixels sensor, 4K video up to 30 fps, continuous tracking AF for people, animals, faces and eyes, and an inspired vari-angle touchscreen. The ZFC is the affordable option too. If you want a digital camera with ISO, shutter speed and exposure compensation dials, you're looking at the twice the price Fujifilm X-T4, or if you can live without the ISO dial, then the Fujifilm X-T32 enters the frame. There is everything to like about the Nikon ZFC. 2. Sony Cybershot RX107. Sony revolutionized premium compact cameras with the original RX100 as it was the first pocket-sized camera to feature a large 1.0-inch sensor. They were always great for travel, but thanks to a relatively limited zoom lens, were perhaps sometimes overlooked in favor of other models. From the absence of expected features to its lofty price tag, there's plenty to irk those drawn to the likes of the RX107. And yet, with its strong image quality, detailed 4K videos and a class-leading AF performance, the latest addition to the RX100 line still manages to be one of the most capable compacts right now. It also still has a separate DRAM chip to help crunch through all the data from the sensor at speed, and it now works with the latest version of the company's BIONZX engine, and that partnership provides some pretty staggering burst rate figures. This is one of the big shifts from the RX100 VI and brings what Sony claims to be performance in terms of speed that's on a par with its A9 model, which is still the flagship mirrorless camera in the Alpha family. It also still has a separate DRAM chip to help crunch through all the data from the sensor at speed, and it now works with the latest version of the company's BIONZX engine, and that partnership provides some pretty staggering burst rate figures. This is one of the big shifts from the RX100 VI and brings what Sony claims to be performance in terms of speed that's on a par with its A9 model, which is still the flagship mirrorless camera in the Alpha family. The battery provides 260 frames per charge, or 240 if you tend to use the viewfinder, a modest improvement of 20 frames on the RX100 VI. These figures hardly thrill, but they're somewhat expected for a camera with such a small body. 1. Panasonic Lumix ZS200 TZ200. If you're looking for a brilliant all-in-one travel compact camera that offers an excellent zoom range and great image quality, this is it. If you want to capture videos on your travels, the Lumix ZS200 TZ200 features 4K capture up to 30p, while Panasonic's 4K photo mode lets users extract single still frames from 4K burst files shot at 30 fps before saving them as 8 megapixels equivalent images. It's the most expensive travel camera out there right now, but there's no other camera out there that offers a 15x optical zoom and 1.0-inch sensor in a compact body. While Panasonic managed to squeeze a 10x optical zoom into the Lumix ZS100 TZ100, with a range of 25-250 mm and a maximum available aperture of f2.8-5.9, the Lumix ZS200 TZ200 incorporates a 15x optical zoom with a coverage of 24-360 mm and a maximum aperture of f3.3-6.4. A touch wider at the start of the zoom range then, although with a slightly narrower, slower maximum aperture, but noticeably more reach at the long end. The new lens design also enables the Lumix ZS200 TZ200 to focus down to 3 cm to enable the capture of close-up macro shots. With such a large 15x zoom comes the risk of camera shake ruining shots, so Panasonic's Power OIS stabilization system is on hand to counteract unwanted movement for stills photography, and there's 5-axis hybrid OIS stabilization for video. The battery in the Lumix ZS200 TZ200 TZ220 is rated for 350 shots, or 300 if you use the EVF. The camera also features a new Eco 30 fps mode, which reduces the live view refresh rate and which should see the camera good for around 370 shots per charge. The battery can be charged via AC or USB, although if you're not going to be near a power supply for a while, you might want to invest in a second battery.